Hello everyone, this is Anson from AnsonAlex.com and welcome to my 2019 video tutorial on using Google Drive. In this video, I'm going to show you everything that you need to know to get up and running with Google Drive, including creating documents, organizing and managing your documents, and sharing them. I do want to remind everybody that in order to get all of this information in the video, I do go pretty quickly, so remember to pause and rewind when you need to, and I highly recommend that you follow along in your own Google Drive, pause the video, try some things out, and then go ahead and continue the video when you're ready. So without further ado, let's get started. To access Google Drive, you can go to google.com/drive, or you can go to drive.google.com. When you're on the Drive website, go ahead and click on Go to Google Drive. In order to use Google Drive, we do need to have a Google account, so we can either sign in with an existing Google account, or we can click on the Create Account button to create a new one. But I do have one that I'd like to use, so I'm just going to sign in. Once I log into Google Drive, this is the screen that we're going to see. This is the screen where all of our documents are going to appear. So they're going to appear in this section called Files. And before we jump right in, which is really what we're going to do, I do want to mention that Google Drive itself is a file storage utility. So it's kind of like Dropbox.com. You can add any files you want to Google Drive. You can add photos, you can add documents, you can add pictures, anything you want. You can back up your phone, you can back up your computer. Now, when we start talking about Google Docs, and that is the actual documents that we create within Google Drive, they're somewhat different, and we are going to take a look at how to create documents. What we're going to do is we're going to just jump right in, like I mentioned, and we're going to create a new doc, and then we're going to see how this screen changes as we create documents, and then towards the end of the video, we'll go back in and we'll organize some of our documents and we'll share them. So to create a new document in Google Drive, I'm just going to go up here to the left corner and click on the New button. You'll notice that a drop-down appears, and we could create a new folder from this menu, so that would be a folder that we could store our documents in. We could upload files, we could upload folders, so we could upload, a whole library of files if we wanted to, or we can create new documents down here towards the bottom. So a Google Doc is equivalent to like a Word file. Google Sheet would be equivalent to Excel. Google Slide would be equivalent to PowerPoint, and then you've got a few more options as well: Google Forms, Drawings, Sites, a few more apps that you could use within the Google Suite, but most of you are probably going to stay within Docs, Sheets, Slides, and maybe Forms down here as well. And I do have a tutorial on my website specifically geared towards Google Forms if you're interested in learning more about that. But for now, we're just going to click on Google Docs. We're just going to create a normal document. So you'll notice that when we do that, first of all, it opens up in a brand new tab. So we always have access to Google Drive back here in the other tab. Also notice that when we create a document, it doesn't come with a title. It's called Untitled Document. But Google Drive saves documents as we work on them. So if we start working on this document, it's just going to save it as Untitled Document, and that can get confusing if we start working on multiple documents. So the first thing that you should do when you create a new Google Doc, no matter if it's a document, a sheet, a slide, whatever, is to give it a name. So we'll just call this Test 1. That's fine, just Test 1, and then I'll just tap Enter. You'll notice that it says Saving right up here at the top. And if we just click over here on the other tab, you'll notice there it is. It appears in our list of files. So even though we haven't saved this document, it is saved by itself. So let's go ahead and let's just type in some text here. You'll notice that it looks a lot like Microsoft Word. Up here at the top, we have this toolbar with all of our different formatting options. So if I highlight this text, we have our different type of headings here that we could use. We can change our font size, bold, italics, underline. We can change the color of the text. We could highlight the text. You can add a link here. You can add images here. So a number of different options. You've got your alignment option. So a lot of you are going to use this. So we could center align this. We can do some of these changes, make it bold. We can do numbered lists. We can do bulleted lists. And then, of course, we can indent. If you're looking for more options, you can always go up here to the menu and click on Format, Tools, and you can take a look in there. There's a voice typing tool here in Google that allows you to create a document just by using your voice. It's kind of like doing your voice text messages on your phone. It's a really cool feature. And again, this document is saving as we go. So if I just hit the X on this tab and just completely close it out, boom, it didn't ever press save or anything like that. I'm back here in Google Drive, and if I double click on the document, it opens up, and you'll notice that we have all of our changes. We centered it, we bolded it, everything's saved. Now let's talk about a couple other features of working with Google Documents that I think can be really useful to people. The first one is commenting. So Google Docs features commenting similar to Microsoft Office. So if I wanted to comment on this document, I could go ahead and I could highlight the area that I want to comment on, and then I can just right click. You'll notice that I have this option to comment. You'll notice my name appears because it's linked to the account that I'm using, and I could say, this needs some work, assuming that I'm collaborating on this document with somebody. So then I can press the comment link, and you'll notice that my comment now appears on the side of the document. If there are any other collaborators on this document, they would be notified that I commented on it, and other collaborators could come in here and they could click on my comment, they can reply to it, and if I was suggesting them that they make a change and they actually made that change, they could then click on resolve, and that would resolve my comment. You'll notice that it disappears. However, if we do want to access that comment later on, we can go up here, right here to this little chat bubble symbol in the top right, and it says Open Comment History. You'll notice here is the comment that I made. So we could reopen that comment and we could add another reply to it from here as well. It's just been moved up there because we marked it as solved. The next feature of Google Drive that I want to mention is the version history feature. This allows you to access previous versions of a document if for whatever reason you want to revert to one of those. So to access version history from within a document, we can go up here to File, and then you'll notice that we have the option that says version history. So first of all, we could give this version a name so that we could find it more easily later on. So we could say like version 1 or however let's do that. Let's give it a name and we'll just call this version 1. Okay, so we've named our version, but let's go back to the File menu and go back to version history and then click on See Version History. You'll notice that when we do that, we now have this view that shows us that we're viewing version 1. We can see it's highlighted over here, and then we have our document in front of us. Now notice that first of all, I have another version that just has the date, and this is the blank document. So this is basically the version when it was first created and we hadn't done anything yet. And then when we click on our version 1, you'll notice that we have our text, but it's highlighted in green. And what this is telling me is this is showing me what user made these changes. So if I look over to the right, I'll see my name with a little green box to the left of it, and that is telling me that anything green on the screen, it was a change done by this user. So if we had multiple users on this document, we might have another user over here that might have a red box to the left of their name, and any changes that they made between the previous version and this one would be highlighted in red in our document. So there's a little bit of accountability there built into Google Drive. You can see who's making what changes, and if they make changes that you don't like, you can always revert to a different version. So you'll notice that on version 1 over here on the right side, if I click on this little drop down, you'll notice that version 1 has 3 different other versions embedded within it. So we have this version where we just typed our first sentence, then I don't even know, I think I made the change of the font size in that version, and then I centered it and bolded it, and then this is where I actually saved it as version 1. So at any point we could go back to say this one and we could click on restore this version. So this is just a great feature to go back, revert any unwanted changes, and to hold people accountable for the changes that they're making within a document. So I think it's really important to mention that here in this video. So let's go ahead and go back to our document. And before we take a look at organizing documents, let's take a look at Google Sheets real quick. So I'm just going to close this tab. We know that that document is saved right here. And now I'm back in Google Drive, and I'm just going to click on New in the top left, and I'm going to click on Google Sheets. You'll notice again, opens up in a new tab called Untitled Spreadsheet. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to give this a name. So we'll call this Sheet 1. Just to show you, we go back to Google Drive, maybe give it a second, maybe refresh. There it is. It popped in right as I hit refresh. And here we have Sheet 1. Okay, these are the same documents. Google just now has a quick access section up here at the top. Kind of automatically suggests which document you may want to work on. So you're seeing these repeated, but they are the same documents. Okay, let's go back to our Google Sheet, and you'll notice that it looks a lot like Excel, and it works just like Excel. So just to give a quick example, let's say I had some data here. We'll just put some numbers, and I wanted to do a formula to find, say, the sum of all these numbers. Just like in Excel, I could type equals, and then I could type sum, open bracket, could highlight my data, hit enter, and then you'll see that we have the sum of this data here. If we change one of these numbers, our sum will change respectively. So you can see that it works just like Excel. Unfortunately, I don't have the time in this video to go over all the features of using a spreadsheet application, so hopefully you can transfer your knowledge from Excel over here to Google Sheets. And if you're interested in a very in-depth tutorial on using specifically Google Sheets, please let me know in the comments section here on YouTube, and I will try to get that video out for you. But a couple of the things in Sheets here I want to show you. First of all, if we highlight this data, you'll notice that we have some different formatting options. So we could format it as currency, percentages, we can change our decimals, and then if we click on this 1, 2, 3, we'll get a drop down with different formats that we could use. So you can see you have a lot of different options in terms of the data formats that you can use here in Google Sheets. Okay, so we've created a sheet and we've created a doc. I'm just going to close out the sheet for now. And let's start talking about document organization, because again, that is really what Google Drive itself is. And then we've got Google Docs and Google Sheets within Google Drive. Right now I'm in the My Drive section, and you'll notice that it's highlighted in blue, so that's how we can tell that we're in My Drive. But I don't really like this view. When I work in Google Drive myself, I don't use this view. I use a list view. I just it gives you more information, and I like the look and feel. It organizes things a little bit better for me. So I'm going to change the view by going over here to the right side of the screen on this list view button. I'm just going to click list view. And you'll notice that we still have this quick access section up here at the top, but now we have our documents listed in a list below. And we can see who the owner is over here to the right, when it was last modified, and the size of the file. This getting started file is just a default file created by Google for you to take a look at if you wanted to, but you could delete this file. You just right click and go down to remove, and that would delete the file. That's how you can delete any file or folder in Google Drive. You can just right click. When in doubt, right click. So you'll notice when we right click on these files, since I did it, I'll show you news. We have a lot of different options here. We can share a file from here, which we're going to look at in a minute. We could view the details of it. We could make a copy of it. We could download it to our local computer. So if you have a PDF or a Word file that you want to download, you can do that here as well. But for now, let's talk a little bit more about organization, and then we'll talk about sharing. So I want to mention that you can actually create folders here in Google Drive as well. So if we click on the new drop down at the top left, you'll notice that our first option is to create a folder. So if I click on folder, I can call this folder whatever I want. I'll call it first folder. And you'll notice that it now appears in our list of documents. And all of this is happening in the My Drive section. If, however, I click on this little arrow to the left of My Drive now, you'll notice that our folder is listed underneath it. And just like you would think, you can drag files and folders here in Google Drive. So if I wanted to move this document, the first document we created, into the folder, I can just click and I can, it used to be able to. There we go. It's a little finicky. But I can click and drag it into first folder. You'll notice it disappears from this high-level My Drive screen. But if we double-click to access first folder, here's our file. Okay, so you can create as many folders as you'd like. If you right-click on a folder, you have some options to share a folder, a whole bunch of options, but one of them is to share. You could share an entire folder. And I had a user comment about this in my last year's video. You can change your folder colors over here as well by clicking on the drop down. So I could change this folder to be red. So that's how you can do that. So if we go to My Drive, you'll notice that this folder is now red. And again, we can create as many folders as we want. We can create embedded folders. So I could create a folder within first folder, all of that sort of thing that you would expect in a file management utility. Now, before we talk about file sharing, I want to talk about some of these links over here to the left that I have conveniently ignored thus far in the video. So we've talked about My Drive. The second link that we have here is the computers section. This is where we could actually sync folders, local folders on our computer, whether it be Windows or Mac, to Google Drive. So if we wanted to do that, we could click on this Learn More link, and this is actually a tutorial in and of itself. So if you're interested on how to back up and sync your files with Google Drive, let me know in the comments section of this video, and I'll try to get a video specifically geared towards that uploaded on my YouTube channel. But you could also try and follow Google's instructions here as well. Again, I'm not going to show you how to do that, but this section, if you did have a computer backup, it would show up in this section. The section below computers, however, is important. This is the Shared with Me section. So this is where files will appear when somebody shares them with you. First of all, you should get an email notification saying so-and-so shared a file with you. But that file does not automatically appear in the My Drive section. And I think this is just to kind of sort out and avoid the situation where somebody tries to spam you with file shares. I could see that happening, kind of like we get spam emails. You could get spam file shares. So Google puts it in the shared with me section first, and then when you come in here to the shared with me section, if I had a file in here, I could click and I could drag it to my drive so that I could easily access it within my drive. Now, do remember that within Google Drive, when you're working on Google Docs, whether it's a sheet or a document or a form or a slide, whatever, it's all real-time collaboration. So let's just go to Drive and open up the sheet real quick here. If somebody else is collaborating with me on this file and they're typing in here, I will see them typing. I will see them enter data as they enter it. And up here at the very top right corner where you see this A, it says Google account Anson Alexander. If another user was working on this document, we would see another little symbol up here denoting which user that is. And if they were clicked somewhere on the screen, I would see it was highlighted, and the highlight would be in a different color because it would show that it was highlighted by that particular user. So this is all real-time collaboration. If you're working on a document with somebody, you guys can type at the same time. You could be on the phone, both typing. It's really, really cool when you see that document collaboration actually in action. But anyways, let's go back to Google Drive, close out this sheet, and we'll close out this other tab that got opened. And let's talk about some of these areas over here on the left. So the next section that we have is the recent section. This is actually the area in Google Drive that I use the most. I might have a couple hundred files, few hundred, maybe 500 files, I don't know, in my personal Google Drive account. But how many do I actually use on a monthly basis? Maybe like 30 or so. So if I click on this recent section, I usually have, I don't know how many it shows, but it might show about 50 files when I'm in the list view here. So I pretty much have access to all of the files that I'm using. Now, if there's a file that I haven't used for, say, 6 months or a year, it might not be on that list. And to find it, I could go back to my drive and I could navigate through my folder structures and try and find where I put it. Or, of course, I can use the search up here at the top. Remember, Google is known for search. Google basically grew to be the company that they are because of search, and their search is still very powerful. So if I wanted to find that document that's called test, instead of going through my folders, I could go up here to search, and I could just type test, and then hit enter, and you'll notice here's my document. So don't be afraid to search. I don't really put my documents in folders anymore. I really don't. I haven't for years because I just search for them. I still think some people, depending on what your workflow is, it might be important to you. But quite honestly, I don't use folders. So, always remember to use that search option up at the top. It can be your best friend. Then we just have a couple more areas over here to the left. The starred area is where documents that have been given a star will go. So if we go to our My Drive section, we right-click on a document, you'll notice that we have the option to add to starred. And you'll notice the star appears to the right of it, and if I click on the starred section, that document now appears. Just kind of a quick way to mark documents. It works the same way as the starred feature works in Gmail, if you're familiar with that. And then, of course, we have the trash section here at the bottom. This is where documents go when we remove them. So remember, I removed that Getting Started PDF. Here it is in the trash. I believe that they will be permanently removed after 30 days of being in the trash, so do remember that. And notice down here at the bottom we have this section that says storage. With your Google account, you get 15 free gigabytes of storage, which includes your email, your Google Photos, your Google Drive, anything really that you're storing in your Google account. So at any time you can take a look down here and you can see how much of your storage that you're using. If you're just using it for email and document collaboration, you're really not going to fill that up. Once you start uploading photos and videos and computer backups and that sort of thing, it can get full pretty quick, obviously. But just keep an eye on it. This is where you can tell how much storage that you've used. So now let's finally talk about sharing documents in Google Drive. This was really one of the main features that was launched with Google Drive that other document processors just didn't have, and that was the ability to collaborate and share in real time. So let's go back to the My Drive section, and we have our file here that we created called Sheet 1. Let's say we want to share this document with another user. There are a couple of different ways we can do that. First of all, I could double click to have the document opened up. You'll notice it opens up in the new tab again. And at the top right corner, I have this big blue share button. Pretty self-explanatory. I can click on share. And it asks me who I want to share it with. So then I could enter the email address of the person that I want to share it with. Now, I do want to mention that if you're sharing it in this way, what I mean when I say in this way is I'm sharing this as a Google Sheet with somebody. They're not going to get an Excel file. they're just going to get access to this Google Sheet from within their Google Drive. So what I'm getting at here is they need to have a Google account if you are going to share a file with them in this manner. I will show you how you can email files to people who don't necessarily have to have Google accounts in a few minutes. But if you're going to share and collaborate with somebody on a file, they need to have a Google account. So go ahead and send it to their Google email address. If they don't have one, they will be prompted to create one and all of that jazz. But at this point, they should probably have one anyways. So anyways, I've entered the email address that I'd like to share it with. And then to the right of that email address, I have a drop-down menu where I can choose the permissions that I would like this user to receive. So I can give them edit permissions, which means they can view the document and they can make changes to it. They can type in it. They can delete things out. Now, of course, you can always go to your revision history and you can revert if they make changes that you don't like. So don't get too nervous about doing that. But if you give them edit permissions, they will be able to edit. You can give them just commenting permissions, which means they'll be able to view the document, they'll be able to add comments to the document, but they will not be able to change the body of the document itself. So it's kind of like that in-between permission. And then you can give them just view permissions, which is pretty self-explanatory. They'll be able to view the document, but they won't be able to make any comments and they won't be able to make any changes. So let's say I'm going to give this person edit permissions. I could add a little note which will come with the email when it says that, hey, Anson has shared this document with you. Here is the document. By default, it's going to notify people by email. And then we can hit send. Notice that there's an advanced button down here at the bottom. But I want to send this first, and then we're going to look at the advanced section. So we're just going to hit send. So now, Anson Alexander, my other email account, has been notified that this document has been shared with them. If they go into Google Drive, they'll be able to go to the Shared With Me section, and they'll see that document. Notice that in my list, there's now a couple silhouettes next to the document. If we go to, where's that other document? In first folder. Let's move this other document back out of first folder, just so we can look at it next to our sheet. So notice that our first document doesn't have this silhouette. The second one has it because it's been shared. So we can, at any point in time, see which documents have been shared just by that symbol here on our home screen. Okay? So I want to mention now that alternatively, instead of going into the document and clicking on share up here at the top right, we could have just been in My Drive and we could have right-clicked on the document and we could have clicked share. You'll notice that the same little window pops up. But this time, we've already shared it. Let's now click on Advanced. Okay, so you'll notice that when we do that, the window expands and we have access to more features. This might be a good time where you might have to pause and rewind a little bit because things can get a little tricky here, but overall it's not too hard. So first of all, we can see who has access. This is a list of people who can access our documents. So right now we have this account that I created it with, which is also the owner, and then the account that I just shared it with. So at any time, I could go in here and I could say, oh, I shared it with them, but I gave them edit permissions. I don't want them to have edit permissions. I only want them to be able to view it. So I could change their permissions. Maybe I'm done with this document and I don't want to have to deal with it anymore. I could actually make another user the owner of this document. So that's a common question that people run into over time using Google Drive is how can I actually change the overall ownership? Well, here's how. I could specify the webmaster address as the owner of this document. I could also invite more people to collaborate on this document with us. And then down here, I have a couple other options. I could prevent editors from actually adding new users to the document so they could edit the body, but they wouldn't be able to share it with somebody else. And then I could also disable the options to download, print, and copy the document for people who aren't editors. So that's for commenters and viewers. So those checkboxes are available to you. The one last thing that I want to talk about is this specific people can access setting. So what this is telling me is that as of right now, with the current settings, only specific people can access, and it's these two people listed below. But if I click on change, another window appears, and I could actually make this document public. Now, for 99.9% of your documents, you're probably not going to want to do that. However, if you have an informational document that you want to put on your website, or you just want to send out a link and have everybody be able to access, regardless of whether they have a Google account, and you don't want to enter their email addresses individually in Google Drive, you could just make it public, and then you could send them the link, and they'd be able to access it. But we're just going to leave this off for now. I just wanted to let you know that that feature is available. Okay, and so when you're all set managing your permissions for your document, you can just click on Done. Okay, so now let's talk about a couple of additional features. First of all, remember that if you ever want to download your own document, you can just right-click on it and go to Download. And for this example, we'll click Download. Notice that it automatically converts it to Excel for me, and it downloads it as an Excel worksheet. So if I go to Show in Finder, you notice here is my Excel file. I actually don't have Excel on this computer, so it would open in Apple numbers. But if you had Excel, it would open right up in Excel, and it should look exactly the same. Now let's talk about what you can do if you want to share this file with somebody else who doesn't use Google Drive. What you need to do is pick up the phone, call them, and tell them to use Google Drive. No, I'm just kidding. There's actually a way that we can accomplish this. So what we want to do is we actually want to go to our document. We want to open it up. So I can double click here to open it up, and I'll close out this other one. And we're inside of our document. From within our document, we're going to click on the File menu. And then from File, we are going to select Email as Attachment. Isn't that wonderful to hear? Because a lot of people who use Google Drive get frustrated with, how do I share a document as an attachment? Here's how you do it. Email as attachment. So now you'll notice in the window that appears, we have a drop-down that allows us to specify the format of the file. So as a sheet, we can send this in PDF format or Excel format. If you were just creating a Google Doc, you'd be able to send it in PDF or Word format, that sort of thing. So we'll say we want to send it as Excel, right? And we go ahead and we enter the email address of the person we want to send it to. We can enter the subject for the email, the message for the email. You could have an email copy sent to yourself if you wanted to, and then click send, and boom, they will receive a copy of this file. It will be called sheet1.xls, and it will have all of the data in it. All of the formulas should carry over. So, if they were to change these numbers over here, then this final number down here at the bottom should change in Excel as well. So that is how you can share a document with somebody who doesn't use Google Drive. Super useful, right? The last thing that I want to mention in this quick start tutorial for using Google Drive is how to access your settings. So if you go to the top right corner, you'll notice that there's a gear icon. And with the gear icon, we could click on the settings link, and now we are in our Google Drive settings. So you can kind of go through this on your own time if you'd like, but there are quite a few different options in here that you can change. You can change your density layout, you can manage some of your notifications, and you can manage some different apps. So by default, Google Drive is the file storage utility. Within Google Drive, we have docs, we have forms, drawings, sheets. Google actually allows third-party companies to create apps to use within Google Drive. So you could click on this Connect More Apps link, and you'll notice if this loads up, a list of a whole bunch of different apps appear. A lot of them are pretty big companies, like I think Lucidchart is a big company, and they just have their Google Drive edition of Lucidchart. So you could scroll through this on your own and maybe see some cool apps that you'd like to use. But that should pretty much get you up and running with Google Drive, how to manage your documents, how to create new documents, how to share them, how to download them, how to delete them, how to email them as attachments, how to create folders. I hope you all found this video helpful. If you did, I would really appreciate a thumbs up here on YouTube. If there's something else about Google Drive or Google Sheets or Google Docs that you want to hear about, please let me know in the comments, and I'll try and get those videos uploaded as well. And if you want to see more technology tips and tutorials, don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. That's all I have for you for now. This is Anson from AnsonAlex.com.